Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How the hell are you? I'm waiting for an answer. We're coming to you today from Earwolf Studios in Hollywood, right across from the Netflix building. You know what? Come on up and say hello. The people here would love to meet you. And there's no security. So come on in. Sammy and Jamie are not with us today. Sam, the wonderful Sam Levine, has been sitting in for me while I've been on the other side of this particular country, which I'll get into in a moment. So thanks to him. And write to us, won't you? Yeah, you. KPCSfanmail@gmail.com. What was that? Yes, I will. KPCSfanmail@gmail.com. I'm going to read a couple of your incredibly lame fan mail in just a moment. Enjoy past guests. How dare you? Well, who should I suggest? Recent Academy Award winners, for example. Wait, Academy Awards were like 6 months ago. Allison Janney and Sam Rockwell, who I love dearly. And man, oh man, I'm still so happy they both have Academy Awards. Longest on-camera interview Elon Musk has given. There's a potentially current conversation. And of course, hero and friend Ricky Gervais finally sat down that fuck. For those of you who give a good goddamn about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the show received 14 Emmy nominations. It's just a relief. It really is a relief, because when people are in your face saying you're going to get nominated endlessly, you just want to get it over with, quite frankly. So congratulations to all the departments that were nominated, not just the writers and director and some of the actors, which is incredible. I was not eligible, in case you're wondering. I just wasn't eligible. I was just reoccurring in the first season. Now I'm a series regular, so we'll see what happens. And as my friend Brian Dylan Murray always says, oh, I love reoccurring. Yeah, they're always happy to see you. So if you do over 3 episodes, I found out, you cannot be nominated for a guest star, which, blah, blah, who cares. Tony Shalhoub is the odds-on favorite, I say. He's just won a Tony, so he's on his way to winning more. And, of course, our Rachel Brosnahan is just unstoppable. So that's a relief. We're about episode 8, I think, of 10 episodes of season 2, which will drop after Thanksgiving, as the first season did, and that's all I have to say about that. Write to us again, kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of any of this. I've got a couple dangling questions from the show I did where Jamie gave me your questions from Twitter and Instagram when a guest canceled, and we just came in and did a Q&A. It was really fucking fun. The last 2 are from @VonBead on Twitter, who asked, now remember, you did say you'll answer every question for this episode. Will you let me be a 2-show intern this fall? Qualifications competent. Well, good on you, and damn good question, and no, I won't. And from Scott Osborne, whose Instagram handle is @SoHamilton2, who makes you still crack up uncontrollably even after all these years? Well, that is a wonderful question. I think Albert Brooks would probably say anything, and I would lose my mind. Christopher Guest, the same. Yeah, it's kind of the favorites from always. And I can't wait to ask our guest that. So let's get to her, shall we? Worst segue in history.
Yes.
Welcome, please. I always go into an Irish accent. I can't help it. And I realize my favorite thing about the Irish accent as I'm watching Preacher and that wonderful Irish actor is they, for what we say they say em, yeah, and ting. All the ths are t's.
Yeah, there's no th.
No,
in
there's
Ireland.
the ting. I'm thinking of maybe Karen Kilgariff.
Hello.
Welcome.
The only thing when everybody goes into, it happens all the time when everyone busts into a brogue.
Yeah.
The only thing I can ever think of is my grandmother, both my grandparents had them, and she would cut up a 6-pack plastic, the holders, so it was all the rings. And I asked her what she was doing one time, and she goes, "It's for the boards."
And she meant the birds.
The birds, but I stood there forever like, how do boards get affected by
And you were
plastic?
27 at the time. We should
I was
let
so
people
old.
know.
Just staring and staring at an old woman.
Yeah.
I love the Irish accent, but it's very funny. We just did a European tour, and I think I can do one because, but everyone in Ireland's like, no one can do an Irish accent. They accept no attempts. Although yours was amazing just now. But.
Well, I got Gabriel Byrne to accept it, and that'll do for a lifetime.
Well.
Yeah, because I learned it all from him. Yeah, it's funny, even the British ones especially, because there's so many sections, but maybe that's true of every country. Because if you were to do an American accent, is it from Kentucky or New York or
Olympia,
Pittsburgh?
Washington?
Right.
Very rare.
Yeah. Or San Francisco, which in my opinion has no accent whatsoever.
You know what's funny? I think old San, because that's where my family's from, and
Mine
old
too.
San Francisco. Really? Mm-hmm. Is that true? Your Bay Area?
Not only Bay Area. I was born in Children's Hospital in the city. My grandfather, my mother's father, originally from England, but survived the 1906 earthquake.
No way.
Yes, way.
My grandmother was born that year, and she used to love to say that's why it happened. She would explain that to us as that.
And again, at 27, you believed it.
I'd say, Grandma, tell me about the boards again.
Yeah. One of my first jokes as a stand-up in San Francisco talking about my family history there was to say my grandfather survived the 1906 earthquake and worked on the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge. In fact, gave his life. Not while working on the bridge. Back then, if you came over the bridge and didn't have the toll, they killed you. Thank you for that.
It's always been a very high toll.
That's a 42-year-old joke.
It's also very bridge specific.
Yes, for sure.
But I was going to say my family has almost a New York accent. The ones that were in San Francisco in the 50s. They had a kind of thing like this. They talked a little bit like this. Like, I can't explain
it. And they
it.
hadn't come through Ellis Island? They just picked it up from the gangsters left over in the area?
I think it is maybe like there were so many immigrants that people just talked out like other people, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they talk like that. But when I think of that, like I had two old aunts, Aunt May and Aunt Ann, and they both kind of talked like this. Like it was a little bit like that, where I'm like, where you guys grew up in the Mission? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
No one talks like that there.
Yeah. So I cut my stand-up comedy teeth in San Francisco. Yeah, I was like the same era as Dana Carvey and Bobby Slayton.
Wow.
The late 70s. That's how old I am.
Were you Holy City Zoo?
You know, well, I was born in the city, and then I was quite young, and the family decided to move down to San Jose to the beginning of the suburbs and whatever that was.
Right.
And so it wasn't until I started doing stand-up, so like in bars in San Jose where there were no comedy clubs.
Wow.
So literally a shit-kicker bar would have a band play in the corner, and when the band took a break, I'd convince the owner to let me get up and do 20 minutes. No. So think about this. You're in a shit-kicker bar. The band's just got done playing. They finally stopped playing too loud music, and the people there who've gathered to drink and hit on each other finally have a chance to do that because the band is no longer too loud. And there's a guy now on stage doing Columbo.
I was just going to say, and then you walk on stage with your raincoat.
Yes. Hey, wasn't they terrific? And the crowd doesn't care. I swear, surviving that made me truly much stronger than a stand-up facing a tough crowd.
I feel like
at a comedy club.
Yes, exactly, because at least at comedy clubs, they're on board. Like they paid their money.
They bought the premise.
Yes. Whereas that reminds me of like when I moved down to LA and the alternative comedy scene, which is basically just if you can't get time at a real club, just find a coffee house.
Yep.
Again, people not willing, I remember doing remember Borders books on La Cienega?
Absolutely.
There was a whole you could buy your book and then go sit and have a cup of coffee and read the book you just bought.
Sounds alien to a lot of younger people, but yes, that was the thing people did.
In the 90s, another way to meet people. And then we'd show up with one small amp and a really bad mic.
Hey, what are you reading there?
You guys, quit reading, nerd. Where it's like, oh my God. It was just like invading people's space. And it's like, you didn't ever do well. But if you could just get it done, then when you did go to the Improv, you were like, oh, this isn't so bad.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you started in Sacramento?
Yes,
according to the internet?
What's that?
According to the internet.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
My Wikipedia page is very inaccurate, but no, that's true.
We go much deeper than Wikipedia. Yeah. We go all the way to WikiLeaks.
Assange has a lot to say about me.
Yeah.
I started in Sacramento, but once I started, I only stayed there for like a month or two.
Right.
And then I got into my third car accident in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
When I called my parents to let them know I'd once again crashed the car, my mother was like, I'm coming to get you tomorrow. And so I lived at home in my hometown of Petaluma for a year, and then I saved up money to move into the city.
Right.
So I kind of, like, I technically started, like, I got up on stage for the first time in Sacramento, but then I did...
Laugh stop? Laugh? What was it?
Well,
there was a punchline also at one point.
There was a punchline, but that was kind of after my time. It was
Right.
like I think they put that in the later 90s.
What was the club that was always there?
Laughs Unlimited?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the one.
And there was one in Old Town. There was one in Citrus Heights.
Yes.
And I saw Andy Kindler. The audience hated him so much.
Sure.
He was middling for somebody. I think a comic named it was a comic named Steve Bruner, I believe his name was. I don't know if you remember him. Who told me that I needed to number my jokes 1 to 10.
Oh, no.
And then take number 10, put it at number 2.
Oh, no.
Take number 8 and put it at number 1. Like, it was this whole thing where I stood in front of him and I was like, I wish I had a pen. I don't, is this truly the key to comedy?
My brain doesn't work this way. Are you a cartoonist?
I'm like, what if all my jokes are equally bad?
Yeah, and who gives a shit?
And also, who gives a shit?
And who are you again? Thanks for the advice.
Yeah.
Don't remember asking for it.
But that's like that Laughs Unlimited in Old Sac.
Yes.
If anything, I would say that was the first club.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first place I ever played.
It was a great room for that, for anyone to start out.
Yes.
Because when I started, it was really down in San Jose. So by the time I got to San Francisco, it was for the birth of the punchline.
Yeah. And the old improv, did you ever do that improv on Mason? And
Yeah, well, that eventually came. I was a little even starting before that. So it really was the punchline in the other cafe.
Oh, right.
And I got to the Holy City Zoo after hearing, this is where Robin Williams started 2 years before you. And I got there and I went, well, this seats 11 people. Why am I here?
Yes.
Oh, to perform for the other comedians.
Yep, right.
I see how it works.
See if they like you.
That's
and if they'll
right.
let you into their clique.
Right.
Yeah.
And I literally played there once and said, nope,
Goodbye.
I'd rather perform for people.
That's how I felt about the punchline, oddly enough. The first time I went, and I don't know if they had it might have just been the manager at the time, but the way they did that Monday night showcase night, which is the
Okay.
first way a kind of like opener middler gets on stage, is because some, and this is how they do clubs, is like you call up and then you say, Karen Kilgariff, and they go, no, call back next week, or they put you on. There's different systems, right? That's that's how the improv did it. But
Depending on how bitter the person is answering the phone.
Exactly. That like puppet master that's like loving the control. At the punchline, you just go show up at 8 o'clock when the show started, and then the manager would walk up and down the bar.
No.
Yes. And you sat there, and then right as the person on, like the host or whatever, was about to say goodbye, he would go, you're next.
No.
And it was so stressful and so infuriating to me that I was like, I have to get out of this town.
I'm done doing this.
Because the improv was booked at like on the phone. So you could, I was so nervous to do stand-up for the first 11 years that like I couldn't, that kind of stress, like I was like, how am I even going to do a set?
Right.
When it's this like, you don't, usually if you know, oh, I'm up in 3 people, then you can like, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'll have 1 beer or a beer and a half.
Well, you
like,
time whatever.
Yeah, you time it all out.
Yeah.
But that shit was like, what is this? Like this has nothing to do with comedy.
Right.
It infuriated me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty horrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah. Well, I was one of the notes I wrote was to ask about the starting stand-up full-time in 92, 93, 94, when my memory is that's when the gold rush of stand-up of the mid to late 80s died. Yeah. And I only know that because in 92, I was crazy fortunate that A Few Good Men came out 2 weeks after my second 1-hour HBO special came out, which was completely dismissed because I was in this juggernaut movie with movie stars, and however people discover you is how they know you.
Yes.
And then I just became movie boy.
Yeah.
And then I thought, wow, this is kind of great timing for me because stand-up's kind of dying.
Yeah.
And I'm getting offers instead of auditioning because of this one stupid movie. And so I don't know anything about 92 to 2000.
It was that's all I know.
Right.
Because I started in 90, but it was, in Sacramento, small club, like underground. It was like an underground dance club we went to on Thursday nights.
Yes.
But then on Mondays they had a comedy show.
But that's how Dana Carvey and I started in San Francisco.
Right?
In the late 70s. This place was a disco last week. And the Mirror Ball is still up.
But they switched it to a comedy club because it makes more money?
On a certain night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was the gold rush. So I guess the club scene in San Francisco is cool.
Yes.
And I thought it was doing great. But then the Improv closed, and that was like, it kind of portended. There was still Cobb's, which was a great club.
Oh, I'm sorry. I left out Cobb's. Jesus, an institution to this day.
An institution, and Tom Sawyer, who had great taste, and like he was one of the phone people, which I respected, because I was like, okay, you're not trying to stress me out. You're just like, I either get my chance or I don't.
That's right. And he could be tough. But he had great taste.
He had really good taste. And he had like the passion for, he cared about comedy a lot.
Yes.
So whatever he was doing, it was like, because he wanted to be in that. And he had, the people he put on, I always loved. And he was like kind of fun. I mean, he wanted to be the tough guy. It was like he had to be the principal of the school, which I would never want to be with a bunch of comics. It's like a nightmare. Right. But
you could manipulate him to do Sean Connery pretty easily. And then it was like talking to one of the guys.
Then you're fine.
Yeah.
Although sometimes he was wearing a cowboy hat at night.
Yep.
But once the Improv closed, which was my like home base heart, Lisa Langang managed it, and she was a great person to kind of know, and she encouraged me or whatever. And then the Punchline, which felt like real. It felt to me like that's real club comedy, and you have to learn how to compete. You have to learn how to do this, Dukes Up, and all that just made me so tired.
Yeah.
And then that Margaret Cho had moved down to LA.
Right.
And I had become friends with her when I lived in San Francisco, and she was like, send my agent a tape, and because I think she'll represent you. And then the agent called and said, move here. So I was like, all right,
That's the greatest.
It was amazing, and it was that thing where I'm definitely one of those comics where I feel like I always wanted to do comedy from when I can remember, watching people do like, what was that, the Alex Bennett comedy show that was on PBS or whatever. Like I would sneak up after I went to bed and watch that and just be like,
where were you sneaking up to?
Sneaking out of bed. So
up to the television place?
Out to the television, yeah.
Okay. So you lived in the basement.
We kept a small television on the roof.
What was better, antenna?
Yeah, we were way out in country. So I just loved it, and I had this weird passion for it. And it clicked in my mind that this weird compulsion that I had to talk and say something that got me in a lot of trouble and made me the weirdo and made me the kind of like, oh, her. I was like, oh, I can use this. This is actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
100%.
Yeah. And then when I saw the way people did it and the people that I could see, like San Francisco just had such again, it was overall, they had such good people.
They were doing alternative first, and they were doing it in the 70s.
Yeah, for real. Dexter Madison.
Yeah,
Dexter Madison. That act was it was like a guy
Jeremy
pretending
Kramer,
to be rich. Jeremy Kramer, who is
Goldthwait,
a hero.
I mean, we kind of invented weirdos.
Yes, but still, you still had jokes. It wasn't weirdo for weirdo's sake.
Please,
it was the comedy was there.
Yeah, no, they were. If they weren't hilarious, I wasn't interested in them just being a weirdo.
Yeah,
no. Goldthwait was he owned every room. As soon as he opened his mouth, he had created his own sort of niche, right? But there were always jokes. You could always see the writer behind the character.
His joke about beating up the guy because you're gay and you're pretty, and then I kind of want to kiss you, and so whatever, like that.
Yeah.
He was doing things like, you think, oh, he's just doing a weird voice. No, he's addressing homophobia.
That's exactly
actually,
right. Yeah.
Through comedy.
Yeah.
Was Jane Dornacker in town when you were there?
Yeah.
So she's the reason I wanted to be a comedian, because we listened to KFRC, Dr. Donald D. Rose, in the morning on the way to school.
Sure.
And she would come and do the traffic report.
Yeah.
And she would kill. I mean, she was doing traffic, and she would destroy. Dr. Don would be crying, laughing.
Right.
We thought he was the funniest person in the world.
Yes, he did.
So the fact that she could make him laugh, I was like, oh, it's a girl doing it.
Right.
And that was huge. And then when I first met Jeremy Kramer, he was like, I knew Jane Dornacker. She was hilarious. And he would tell me all about like characters she would do and the other cafe stuff, like those shows. And so, it was like, the footsteps of giants type of thing. You could really feel that, like, I mean, Robin Williams, that alone. You were just like, yeah, that's my town. Like SF style.
That's right.
And then everybody basically moved to LA in like 94. I mean, like there was just
Paul F. Tompkins was in your group, I think. Yeah.
Paul J. Johnston.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton and Blaine.
Right.
Greg Barrett, Laura Milligan, like Dana Gould moved down.
Sure.
Like everybody was just like, yeah, let's go to the big times and see how we can do it.
Yeah, it was funny. Even in my earlier day, by just over 10 years, really, I moved in 83. The mentality was, we're not going down there, are you?
Right.
That's where you go to sell out.
That's the phonies.
You want to be an artist, you stay in San Francisco.
Right.
And I thought, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like, why would you want to go to high school?
Yeah, exactly.
You should stay here in middle school.
It also sounds like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Stay here.
Yeah.
I'm scared. Yeah, that's how I felt too. It was, I definitely loved that idea of hating LA because it's like, oh, fake boobs and we're not like that.
I'm here now 35 years and there are aspects of LA that still are on my hate list.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm San Francisco down to my DNA.
Because they don't eat food or drink beer here the way we do up there.
It's just not the fact that it's not a city. That it's a collection of suburb sprawling pockets that have nothing to do with each other, don't care about each other, and so
every
on
building is from 1978 or above. Yeah, there's nothing to look at. There's nowhere to walk, kind of.
Yeah, and the land of dreams and opportunity at the same time,
and the land of dead dreams and missed opportunities.
Yeah.
But when we all moved down, I think because so many people felt that way, we just moved in a pack of 15 people, basically. Where it's like we ate together at every meal and we did these shows and people were like, I just found a room they'll let us have. So there was a real cool feeling of almost like the circus. We were the circus that came to town.
Sure.
Kind of feeling where we were there to fight against LA almost. You know, like we'll make our own spot because when you move to LA, the most shocking thing is no one gives a single shit about you. You could be like the prom queen in your hometown and everyone believes in you.
The most crowded, loneliest place that ever was.
Terrible parking lot of a place.
But and lonely beyond any possibility.
Yeah. Well, because everyone's looking over your shoulder. You know, you're never good enough for the person sitting in front of you. Like it's that. And you know what it really boils down to for me is that, remember that J&J Beepers billboard that used to be on La Brea and Sunset?
I'm just going to say yes.
Okay. Well, this might jog your memory. It was 10 women in bikinis and one guy in the middle, and they were all holding a probably 30-foot cell phone. And it was like, J&J Beepers.
Oh,
like,
Beepers, right. Sorry, yes.
No, that and newscasters where I was like, oh no, I'm supposed to be able to wear a bikini in the daytime around here. Like I was like, oh shit,
in the daytime.
I didn't
going to the 7-Eleven.
As opposed to your nighttime
bikini. Put on
yes, exactly. Like you're here for the beauty contest. Doesn't matter what your actual talent is.
Right.
And that feeling, I think, where it's like, well, if I can't do that, then I'm just a ghost here.
Yeah.
Like then it doesn't matter how funny I am.
And of course, the sad, painful irony of all that is, if ever there was a comedian who was handsome or pretty, no one gave a shit.
Right. That's
Seriously.
right. They still got a TV show.
Well, but not because they were funny.
Right.
I mean, they got instant negative cred for being too attractive within the comedy world.
Okay. Yes.
Right?
Exactly right.
And here we were striving to be attractive.
I know.
No one gave a shit.
You're so right. The second somebody like quote unquote hot got on stage,
Ugh.
they better do 6 jokes about how yes I'm hot but this or something like. You know that reminds me of was Tom Rhodes who in the 90s was like he looked like the front man of a band. Like you were just like, oh my God, I saw a woman pass him a note on stage during his set one time where it's just like.
And it wasn't asking directions?
It was not. How do you get to Union Square from here?
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
You seem funny. You must know how to get downtown.
But it's almost like those qualifiers that were to me, very San Francisco of like, oh, are you hot? Get the fuck off the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, in LA, you came in and you were like, oh, all my rules are wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't understand the power of niche. They were trying to, who fits into the cookie cutter that we already have.
Yeah.
Jordan, how's it going so far?
It's going good.
Jordan and I haven't worked together.
I know this is the first time, Kevin. I worked with Sam.
Oh.
Sam Levine.
Sam Levine.
And I worked
shoes to fill.
with, technically they're tiny shoes. And I've worked with Sam the engineer.
Yeah, that's
See
true.
how that works?
Yeah.
How long have we been going? About 17 minutes? I want to see how long it's been with me not mentioning.
Can I guess?
Yeah, I guess.
You say 17?
I do.
13.
It's actually been 20.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You guys are doing a great job.
I wanted to see how long it had been before I had mentioned that I'm a murderino.
No, are you really?
I am. I
Kevin
totally am.
Pollak.
Yeah, in fact,
I'm a Columbarino.
thank you for being so reductive.
My pleasure.
Yeah, no. Well, what I want to talk about before we get to that is really the origin story, because I think we shared, as so many of Murderinos share with you, it starts with, I'm just going to say Paul Winfield.
Yes, that's exactly right.
City Confidential.
City Confidential.
Savannah was a sleepy town. People came and people went. Joe's General Store was a place for a tuna fish sandwich. Life was easy until July of 1978. And that's when things went a little...
There's always a terrible pun.
Yes.
Terrible.
Yeah.
They made him do wordplay where I was like, he's livid.
Yeah, and drunk.
And a little slurry.
Yes.
I mean, you have to get through those records somehow.
Yep.
It made it better to
Yeah.
me. I was just like, I want to listen to a kind of drunk guy tell me about murder all day long.
Small town murder has been fascinating to me for eons and eons. And it's crazy how often it is just one spouse wanting to off the other one.
And thinking they're gonna get a fucking way with it.
People are, these are the C-minus students that make up this wonderful country of ours. And if they can't vote correctly, at least they can provide us with entertainment.
At least they can sign
By
up
killing
for,
each other.
Yeah, a $500,000 life insurance policy.
3 weeks.
Right, just right before. They don't plan it out. They can't wait 6 months. I know. It's every story is kind of the same. It boils down to the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you have I love those ones where it's a doctor and then the doctor appears on the show. Like on Dateline, they'll interview the person that's being accused and they just sit there like, nope. And you can just see the word sociopath going through their pupils.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there.
Yeah.
And you think you're smarter than everybody.
Yeah. That's why when listening to Serial, the first season thing, it was like, you're falling for this sociopath?
Yeah.
What am I listening to?
Yeah.
What is this? He's sticking to his story. Man, is he?
That's right. I mean, there's that one I didn't get into because it wasn't. First of all, I hate the concept of being wrongfully imprisoned makes me panic. It makes me want to run out of this room.
Because we're next.
Because it could happen to any of us. Of course, it couldn't. We're white, but it's that thing of what if that just happened to you and then all of a sudden, boom, everybody thinks you're a murderer and it's not true. Andy Dufresne. But it's not, that doesn't give me, that's not the interest for me.
Right.
Because I want to know about something that happened already. We know the whole story.
Yes.
We know who did it and justice was served or they died or whatever.
Yeah.
The idea of telling the story of, he's still sitting there and you kind of still don't know if he's guilty or innocent.
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy.
Yep. You've also turned me on to things like Criminal.
Oh, yeah. So good.
What's her name?
Phoebe Judge.
Yes, that's right.
I'm Phoebe Judge.
Yeah, which I want to go to the recording session. Phoebe, can I get another one? Sure. I'm Phoebe Judge. No, that's really not.
No, that's not it.
Go back to the naturalistic sound if you could. I'm Phoebe Judge. Phoebe, why are you taking a pause there? Just say your name.
This is the way she's done it all. And then you do a supercut of her whole life in first grade. I'm Phoebe Judge.
That's right.
Do you know that my favorite, I actually took a screen grab of it. I did it, of course, the impression of Phoebe Judge on our show when I was talking about Phoebe Judge.
Great.
Because
I probably remember that.
I basically, and there's a couple of people who are like, you just retell other people's, TV shows or murders. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone does.
That's what we all do is just some people are pretending it's their version.
Right.
I'm just
You're
telling you.
You're at least owning the fact that, and you guys always do that, and it's great because I'm going to bust myself before anyone else does. And also, there's nothing to bust. I'm sharing a story someone told me.
Yes.
How about everyone does that every day.
All
Yeah,
storytelling.
it's not my fault that 3 million of you are listening right now.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
I didn't tell you to come here.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's more like we had to kind of set people right in the beginning where it's like, oh, no, we're fans. We are not claiming to be journalists or,
right.
crime
You guys did a really
reporters.
good job of that. Because once I heard about the show, I always like to go back to episode 1 and hear the hosts fumble through what it is they're going to eventually be paid a lot of money to do. But I love the early episodes just as a starter because I want to start with you guys, right? Whatever the concept is. And so you could hear it. You guys had more disclaimers, I think, than show for the first 11 episodes. Just letting people know what you weren't.
Because it was just the two of us sitting in a room with
Right.
Georgia's Zoom, looking at each other, being like, "I don't know, is that what we should do? I mean, are we even going to post this?" Like,
Yeah.
it was so thrown together at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I also,
Cut to Stephen, can you cut that?
Steven, do my wash, do my laundry. But I also don't. My thing is that this is how I've always talked about true crime things, and this
Yeah.
is how my family and my friends talk about it.
That's right.
And of course, we should be somber and respectful, and it's a terrible thing that happened. But let's not pretend that we don't lean over to our workmate and go, "Did you fucking hear about the guy that got decapitated?"
Well, that's clearly one of the main appeals to the show is that you talk the way people listening talk to their friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, we get so much credit for that, and it isn't. It's like.
Well, clearly there's a little bit of chemistry involved.
There's positive things. I'll admit it.
It's now traveled you around the world.
Yeah, it's true.
You also turned me on to Marcella,
Oh,
which I can't stop watching.
have you seen the new season?
No, I'm only I think 6 episodes of season 2. How many are there? 4? 3?
3, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
I think it's 3, and the third one's great.
Yeah. I'm curious what else you're watching.
It's funny.
Endeavor, I just heard about in today's episode.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was listening on the way in.
I got like weird flop sweat when I read that Endeavor email of like, "You love Endeavor and we work on Endeavor," where I was just like, this is too much. I'm used to being a comedian that it has 11 people in the audience and 9 of them are like, "We don't really like you."
Yeah.
That's been my career for the past 23 years.
Yeah, sure, but also specifically hearing from that someone is a fan of yours that you so admire
Yes.
and dare I say worship, but you are devoted to is really the word.
Well, because when you watch these shows, like when you binge watch a show,
Right.
you're in that world. I go into
That's
that
right.
world. That's
That's
why I pick the shows I pick. Is like, I would like to be in Oxford in 1964
Yeah.
and see a really smart guy who's also a detective
Yeah.
figure some shit out.
And this had not crossed my plate, and I can't wait to start tonight.
It's good.
Is it on, what's it on? Netflix? Amazon?
It is,
BBC?
just keep naming them. Acorn.
Yeah.
It's, I think I watch it, it's currently on PBS. So it's like this new season is running now on PBS.
How many seasons are there?
There's a ton. I think there's 6 maybe or
So there's on-demand PBS is where I get it? Maybe?
I think so.
Maybe.
But sometimes I just buy it on
Why am I
Apple.
asking you? This is not why you're here.
I don't know anything. I've never
I think
claimed
you're
to know
funny,
anything.
and I would like directions. That's what just happened. Oh, my
Now,
God.
how do I work my iTunes?
Yeah, I better have Jamie, who's not here. It was a moment in time when everyone she knew was asking her questions, and her answer was, Google it.
Google it.
You idiot.
My cousin Stevie once said, "There should be no more questions. There's Google."
I mean, I hate to. I was joking for a while that I felt there's too much information now available too quickly, and we're not communicating to each other anymore and having these crippled conversations where one person is trying to help the other with just Googling it. So I've decided to make things more human.
Great.
I've created a search engine called I Think, little I, big T.
Yes.
It offers about 87% accuracy. It's like calling your Aunt Doris and asking her how to cook chicken.
It sounds a lot like our show, too. It's like, we're not claiming to be accurate about what we're about to tell you.
Yeah.
That's your job.
That's the other thing I love about the show is that you are rarely accurate.
I don't like numbers.
I loved listening to you guys on our friend Chuck Bryant's Movie Crush. That's how much of a murderino I am.
That was a really fun conversation that we had with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
Love him. And I was working in Atlanta listening to Stuff You Should Know, and he mentioned he was starting a new podcast, and I just texted him and said, because as he was launching it, he said, if any big-time show business people are here in Atlanta, because there's 97 productions going on.
Yeah.
So I just said, I can come in tomorrow.
Nice.
I just invited myself into, I think, his third episode. But
What movie did you talk about?
The In-Laws.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Alan Arkin, Peter Falk. It's
I've never seen my father laugh harder.
No.
Serpentine
clinic.
shell.
It's a
we
clinic.
yell serpentine shell at each other across the. I mean, it's just the greatest. And
Yeah.
also, and I can't remember now if Alan Arkin says look or listen, but that's where I got that is after he gets up to go make the phone call in the basement.
Yes.
And everyone at the table is kind of weirded out. And Alan Arkin is just standing there and he goes, and someone says something and he goes, oh, listen. But then he doesn't say anything after that. It's that moment is my favorite comedy moment of any movie, and nothing happens. It's
Yeah.
just like, hey, listen.
And then he just lets it
Then
sit.
they just all stand.
That's why
stand
that
there.
movie is the ultimate clinic for me in terms of, well, all of it. Yeah, and I ended up sort of worming my way into both of their lives. And I had Alan on, and he told the story of how the In-Laws came to be.
Really?
Which I love because it just doesn't really, you don't hear about these things. He said, I was watching one of the talk shows. I guess it was The Tonight Show. There was nothing else on. I was watching The Tonight Show, and Peter Falk was on. And I was laughing so hard. And I had a little juice at Warner Brothers at the time. So I called the president of the studio that night, and I said, I want to do a movie with Peter Falk. And he said, okay, what's the movie? And I said, I don't know. He makes me laugh. And the president said, okay, well, let me know when you know what the movie is. So I called Andy Bergman, who wrote The In-Laws. He had written the first draft of Blazing Saddles.
Oh, shit.
And as funny as you think the version is now, I'm telling you, this was crazy funny. So I called Andy Bergman. I said, I want to do a movie with Peter Falk. He said, what's the movie? I said, I don't know. He makes me laugh. He aggravates me. That's the movie. And he came back a couple of weeks later with 90% of what the movie is now.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And he said Peter was so, he wasn't really a comedy guy, so he would fret over every single word. And I remember because then I said to Alan, when you guys are driving in a car in the fictitious South American country, and he says to you, shall remind me next time we're here, they make a chicken salad sandwich. They serve it on a hard roll with orange juice, grande, a big one. Uh-oh, pigs. I said, and he said, oh my God, let me tell you something. None of that was written. Peter was by the craft service before we were going to shoot that scene. He was saying all of that to himself. I said, what's the matter with you? He said, I just had this chicken salad sandwich. I said, when we get in the car and there's no lines, say that. Are you fucking kidding me?
Wait, and how is it that Peter Falk isn't considered a comedy guy or doesn't consider himself a comedy guy?
I know.
That's, it's so
Well, very
amazing.
early on, he was nominated for a dramatic supporting role Academy Award in Murder Incorporated.
Oh.
And if you ever watch it, if you ever have a chance, it's pretty amazing. But he is as unnerving as they get.
Oh, I have to watch that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say a woman under the influence.
Sure. Amazing. Ridiculous.
And
Forget it.
Seeing him in that, I was just like, holy shit. I
Yeah.
had no idea he was that good.
So that's kind of him and Cassavetes and those guys. That was his jam.
Yeah.
I think. And so the idea of doing comedy, like he would do something silly like Around the World in 80 Days or something where it was like a cartoon character.
Right.
And then, of course, the Columbo stuff eventually had its own form of humor. And let's talk more about Peter Falk right after this. Nope. Okay. I want to hear who along the way said, fuck you, you'll never make it the loudest. That's always a fun, or can be.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of them, but I'm just curious about who said it the loudest. I'll throw out mine and see if it sparks anything.
Okay.
So a woman saw me do stand-up at the Improv here in L.A. in 1985, let's say, and said she was a manager. Do you want to be an actor? Yes, I do. That's why I'm here. Have you trained? No, I haven't. That's why I'm here.
I'm a stand-up
Are you in an
comic.
acting class? No, I'm not. Okay, great. So do you want to come to my office and I'll have you read a scene and then we'll see where it goes. So I came to her office. She gave me what I later learned were called sides, which is a scene in a show. And so she said, take this in the other room, memorize it, and come back. Okay. So I go over it. I don't know what I'm doing. I just read it. What does she mean, memorize it? I'm not going to actually memorize it, am I? And I go back in the room and I let, I guess a version of act it out. And then when I get done, she says, okay, well, listen, acting's not for everyone. And the stand-up comedy's going great, right? So you'll do that. And that'll be great. Good luck. And I left her office thinking that was my first introduction to, will you have an acting career?
That woman was Elaine May. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
not like I carried that with me as some sort of I'll show her.
No.
It always made me laugh because it was so absurd.
Well, and also, I feel like any story that starts, a manager walked up, you're like, goodbye. Those people are the phoniest of all phonies.
Yeah,
it's like anyone can be like, oh, I also am a manager.
Yeah.
Look at this desk plate that I have. It says I'm a manager, so I am.
That's right.
I do this as a joke on stage, but I think my best one was, and it happened at the Punchline in San Francisco on one of those showcase nights where, at the end of the night, the comics kind of stand by the door in case people want to compliment them and buy them drinks, and also the green room's there. But we all congregate.
That's not sad.
It's the saddest. So this one night I had done it, and I stood there, and of course, as I say on stage, my hair was being blown back with how quickly they were passing me to get away, not making eye contact. And then I see a couple that's leaving, and the woman is so drunk that the husband is like kind of dragging her out.
Oh boy.
And right as they get parallel with me, she kind of comes to, and she looks at me and goes, "Oh, you made me so sad."
Jesus.
She walks away.
Jesus. Yeah.
And that I feel like I carried her with me for a long time because I was just like, yeah, I thought I did better than that. But that's also good to know that I have the capacity.
So it wasn't just that you didn't laugh. I made you sad.
I made you clearly a deeply dark alcoholic.
Right.
I made you sad.
Yeah. I was the thing that ruined your night.
Not 17 Mai Tais.
All the things that made you drink. Wow.
There's a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of just ambivalence. Like, I can't tell you how many auditions I've gone to play the sassy best friend.
Sure.
And they just go, could you do it again and less angry?
Wow.
And I didn't think I was being angry at all.
Less angry was the note.
Less angry was a constant note I got. But I think I was also, that's how I managed my anxiety and nervousness, was like whatever and all the line, it was written so poorly usually that it was always a thing of like, it was just man-eater type of comedy where it'd just be like, I don't know, but if he has a friend, I'd like to meet him, and you were supposed to be doing it like that. But I'd be like, well, if he has a friend, I'd like to meet him.
Right.
They'd just be like, this isn't going to be funny or what we need. You're not doing it right.
How do you, is it a number of those that makes you think, well, I can write better than this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the frustration trying to find something funny in this town, and I understand too, it's part of this is just it's a big humongous machine, and they just got to make content.
Sometimes you have to make the donuts. Is the way I like to put it.
Right.
When someone asks me why I did any particular movie.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to make the donuts.
Pay that mortgage.
It's a weird profession where we're not actually allowed to work.
Right.
Unless it's the greatest thing that ever happened.
Yeah, unless you meet some amazing director that's like, what are your thoughts and ideas? And how would you like to write? That makes me think of one time they tried to get me to be on a TV show that was something it was something about a bunch of women in a diet club. And I was just like, yeah, I'll have nothing to do with this. And then they said, no, please come and meet it, please, because we get it and we know what your voice is and we get it. And then when I got there, they said, no, you're the one that tells everyone not to join the diet club. You run the hot dog stand outside.
Oh, no.
And I was like,
oh, no.
Yeah, but I'm not, it's not. That's not it either. Like that's not right either, or whatever. So, and then they kept saying like, we get it and we get your thing. And they said, and we put a bunch of your jokes from your act in it. Right. And I was like, okay. And then at some point I said, well, if I did anything like this, I would definitely need to have control over the lines that I said, and I would want to be able to write my own. And the producer, who was a big name guy at the time, he said, oh, all you actresses think you're writers. Oh. And something in my brain at that moment snapped where I was like, I will never be talked to like this again. And I think it's because this is how people think they can talk to actresses. And it's that thing of like, dismiss, just, and it's like, but you already I'm already a writer on the show. You already took jokes of mine and put it in your script. So how are you now saying to me that I'm not a writer? And that's when I was like, I'm going to start writing, because that's where the control is. And that's where you teach people what like women can be like, aside from either skinny or fat. Are you for dieting or are you against it? It's like, or one of the 1 million things in between that, which you can also be.
Yeah.
You know, but they were basically saying like, no, you're against. And it's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. No, you're the one who sells the hot dog.
Yeah. You love nitrates. So
That's not a bad title for one of the chapters in your book. You're the one that sells the nitrates.
You're the hot dog lady.
The hot dog lady.
Yeah. So I think that I definitely got a kind of a weird directional bump from that experience.
And you go and write a spec script of a favorite show of yours? That was kind of the move for many, many years?
I wrote an original pilot that was essentially, I knew I didn't know what I was doing, and I knew I didn't know anything about like structure or what people wanted. So I just sat down and wrote a series of conversations I could remember having with my parents, because both of my parents are hilarious.
This is exactly what you're supposed to do as a writer, is write what you know.
Right.
And from your own experiences. And the people who read it said,
this is great. But at the time, I didn't show that to anybody. I kind of put it in a drawer. Then the first writing job I had, I actually had to write 5 sketches. And same thing, where I just was like, I don't know what best sketch structure. I didn't go to, like Second City or whatever, but I just know what's funny on TV. So I'll just try to mimic what I think is good, like mimic what I saw them do on Mr. Show.
Sure.
Essentially. And then that got me a job on a sketch show. And that's kind
called
of where—
Mr. Show.
No. It was called Hype.
Sure.
It was on the WB.
I'll say.
And it lasted for 7 months, maybe,
Correct.
something like that. But it was a writing job, and I was a writer. And then that's when it kind of all clicked. Like suddenly LA didn't feel like Mars anymore. And suddenly I didn't feel like this insane, like a elephant in a ballerina skirt feeling that I had for so long. It was like all of a sudden all that peeled away. And I was like, oh, I am a writer. Like that's what stand-up comics are.
Yeah.
You don't get credit for it. And
Right.
people don't see it that way. But it's like all those things I'm saying on stage is I didn't type it on a typewriter like Stephen J. Cannell, but I wrote it.
Great pull. He would rip it out of the typewriter at the end of the final credits. Yeah.
So satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah. And you sort of thrived so successfully as a writer that did you feel like you had found your place in the sun? Because when it's kind of seductive when it goes your way in any field of this business they call show.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much so. I think the problem was that it was a huge relief to be like, I'm behind the camera and I don't have to worry about that anymore. But that wasn't really how I felt.
Right.
It was more like I was in my place, and I don't need to want that anymore, because that's for the Ally McBeals of the world. And
Sure.
they'll do it. I'll make them actually funny instead of terrible.
Right.
And there's not a comment on Ally McBeal. It's
No.
just an example. But
I mean, if you're
like,
going to go after someone, David Kelly is the choice.
take him down.
Yeah.
I love Big Little Lies so much.
Yeah.
That show got me. When we flew back from Australia, I binge-watched the entire thing. And by the end, I was just like, I want to give all these people gifts. It was such an amazing experience.
Also a great way to kill a 15-hour flight.
Right? Just kill it. It's like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I had the satisfaction and like the calm of like, oh no, I'm just going to be in this office and writing and control.
Yeah.
But there's the whole performer aspect. Like I had to put that away, and I hated that. And there was a little soul killing aspect to that too. So, And also, I basically had 2 staff writing jobs, and then I got the job head writing on Ellen's first 5 years of the talk show. But daytime talk wasn't anything I was interested in writing. There were so many rules, things you couldn't do, things you had to always be considering. What I see now is that it was almost like
That's not really a narrative.
no,
So part of your narrative writing brain was detached.
right.
I would think.
Yeah, and it was like jokes. It was like jokes light.
Yeah, okay.
It was Snackwell's jokes, for the daytime set, so you couldn't do anything too edgy.
Remember Snackwell's. What a fucking con that was.
I mean,
what an unbelievable con. You know what your problem is? Fat. No.
No.
How about sugar?
How about
No, let's not talk about sugar.
eat these marshmallows?
It's fat-free.
It's fat-free marshmallows.
Yeah.
There was that one cookie I remember I used to bite into it, and it was like, well, it doesn't taste good. It certainly doesn't feel good in my mouth. Like, this feels like it belongs in the passenger seat of a car.
Yeah. And even then I'd complain. I'm not comfortable.
But I still gained 15 pounds. So the things I learned there were much more, it was like production stuff.
Yeah.
And it was that great lesson of you're a cog in the machine. You're not, when I used to audition, I would be so nervous because I would be like, it's all about me. And once I got in that producerial role, I was like, oh, those people that we hire to say one line, I wish they understood it's in no way about them.
No.
You're coming to serve this thing and get out of the way.
Yeah.
And once I saw that, then I was, it was such a great solution to that intense anxiety, performance anxiety and audition anxiety and all that stuff, that everything got much easier after that. And also just, working on a daily show is one of the hardest things anyone can do ever.
Oh, God, yes.
It's such a drain. Especially creatively, like working on a daily show.
Today went great. Oh, fuck, I gotta do this again tomorrow.
Yeah, no one cares.
There's never a moment of completion or satisfaction.
No.
Right?
Not unless there's some award you win, but
Sure.
even then.
Well, you won several.
We got some awards, but then you learn the bittersweet lesson that like, well, that's nice, but you know what I mean? It's like you keep thinking this is going to be the thing that fills that black hole,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's like no, doesn't do it.
Yeah, that nonsense about it's the journey, not the destination, unfortunately, is right in your face.
It is.
Yeah.
Like those awards are for your parents to be like, look what she did.
Yes.
But I'm still standing there going like,
Yeah, if you ever get anything, it is funny where it ends up in your home. Because journalists will ask, where is your fill-in-the-blank award? And the answer is never what they want to hear.
it's holding open my office door. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, the cat thinks it's hilarious. How are we doing? Oh, my goodness, we're done. How'd that fucking happen?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, we're at the 50-minute mark. You have 10 more minutes.
Jordan, please settle down.
Okay.
We do ours for 2 hours. I'm just making a suggestion. We never stop talking.
Well, okay, so let's celebrate Murderino land a little bit more.
Great.
Because it started in 16, which is a scant 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's not even 2 years old because we're in the middle of 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it, it's kind of precedent and historical in its rise and success.
Very much.
And if there's something as a takeaway for future podcasters, it would be to not only find a niche, but to find out what it is people are obsessive about in their real lives.
Yes.
With each other as a social gathering.
Yes.
And no one ever kind of broke it down like that, nor did I until I was thinking when I heard about the show and heard about the success and then went back to the beginning. And as I'm listening, certainly in the beginning, the question is, how did this get there? No, but
we had the exact same. Every time, I've told the story a couple times, but every time Georgia would show me like, oh, look, we made it to number 3 on the charts. And
it's in the show. You hear her say that.
Oh, really?
A few times in various versions of that, but still the authentic delight of a slow and steady build from episode to episode in terms of you guys not believing people are listening and not believe how many people are listening. And I just love that even today, I'm not going to stop talking. Nice try. Even today on the newest episode, it's a version of that as you talk about the cast of Endeavor being so damn tickled with what you're doing. I mean, it's redonkulous.
It's nuts. And I don't know if I ever did it on the show, but my thing with her as this jaded, old, decrepit Hollywood victim is I would just go, look, don't get attached to this. It goes back down, and that I just don't want you to be upset. It's still a good show. And I would give her these speeches about this is temporary, and you absolutely have to. And then like a week later, she'd be like, look, we're now at number. And then after a while, I was like, all right, fine. Fine, we can be excited about this. But I really doubted it,
Sure.
and I didn't like – all my things got triggered of like, this isn't real, and I've seen this happen to people, and then when it comes back down, they lose their minds, and they're downtown shooting heroin in an alley or whatever, and that was always my worry, is that like, as much as it feels like we're loved, this thing's going to kick back on us, and it's going to be twice as bad when it goes back down.
Yeah,
and
of
I just
course.
wanted her to know, she's 10 years younger than me and is having the time of her life, and I'm like, it's a mistake to have the time of your life, please. Please don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it from the dark side of success and failure. We have no chance. Yeah, that's a great way to spend each day.
But there's so many podcasts.
No, you're not wrong, by the way. I mean, I'm allegedly, I've talked about it on the show, so I'm not going to stop. I'm allegedly directing a film, a script of mine. And, we got our leading lady, and I wrote this thing 16 years ago. It's been fully funded and fallen apart 4 times. Yeah. And every time it gets fully funded and we've never had a leading lady signed on, so we're technically further along.
Yeah.
An Academy Award nominated producer who's brilliant. We're definitely further along this time than we've ever been. But in my mind, I keep saying, it's not fucking real. Stop telling people.
Yes.
And then I got to the point, as you just witnessed, where I said, no, talk about it. Talk about it as you're going through it.
Yeah.
And without any expectations, so that you can actually be present, Kevin. Stop jumping into the future when it goes into the shitter again.
Right. Because that doesn't I think there's part of our brains that goes, this is the preventative measure that's going to keep me from being hurt when that happens again. And it doesn't work that way. You're still as hurt, no matter what weird, thing you make up, the juju that's going to put it here or there. It's like, it's all fake. It's all random. This is Las Vegas.
Yes.
We just put our chips down and then we see what happens. But I mean, like, I know people, and I'm sure it's happened to you, and you know people where it's like they got the part, they got the call, they got the part, they're about to be in the star of the movie, the this, the that, they've signed things, then suddenly it's, oh, sorry, someone else stepped in. Oh, sorry, this, sorry, that.
Yeah.
And you see that so many times
Yeah.
here that it's like, I won't believe it until it's been produced, it's gone to video, it's like, it's over,
Right.
essentially.
I won't believe it until I can no longer enjoy it.
Oh, and by the way, I'm not enjoying it the entire time.
Yeah, that's a horrible way to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, with this exact script 16 years ago, when it was greenlit by a formidable independent studio, greenlit without notes. Let's begin the casting process.
Oh.
Second person to read it. I thought, shit, this is going to happen. Even though I have no credentials whatsoever as a director, because my agent at the time was very powerful. Literary agent said, well, Kevin, believe it or not, you've got more credibility as a first-time director than someone who's directed 7 things, but the last 2 didn't do well. Really? It's just over for him?
Yeah.
For them?
Yeah, that's right.
So I just went forward with it. 2 weeks later, to the day, president fired, new guy comes in, flushes everything down the toilet, which I don't think you should be able to join the DJ unless that's happened to you. Because it's so prevalent,
true.
right?
Yeah.
But the reason I brought it up yet again for the listeners is that I just put that script in a drawer after that happened and said, no, good night, don't need this to happen, because the roller coaster shot to the moon and then free fell back to earth with no net.
Yes.
And as an actor or comedian, I'd not gone through that. So I just said, I don't need this.
Right.
And it sat there until, I don't know, 5-6 years later, until
It's
someone said.
soul crushing.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, here's reality. Oh no, opposite is reality. Like you just can't trust anything.
Yeah, you can't trust a result, which is why we go back to just try to enjoy the day-to-day process of the adventure.
And the output. Yeah.
It's exactly right, which is why I found writing to still be the greatest joy, because no one can disappoint you.
Right.
No one can frustrate you. No one can be in the way. No one can make you promises. Just write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And then that also teaches you how to write better so that maybe next time they'll keep it longer. Maybe they'll string you along longer next time.
Yeah.
Or the money will go up quicker.
And the weirdest guarantee about writing is that you will get better every time.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's all in the rewriting process.
Because you rewrite and then isn't that the weirdest thing when you rewrite something and put it in a drawer? I mean, sorry, you write it, put it in a drawer, pull it back out, and it's like you didn't write it. Yeah. It's brand new.
Yeah.
I've had that happen a couple times where I'm like, this is hilarious. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's mine. Like genuinely.
And you're rewriting what is already that strong, and you
Yeah.
forgot how good or bad it was. And yeah.
And you can see then when you do it and the rewrite comes, it's so obvious where you're supposed to prune and what should be. Like, it's the weirdest experience.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. We've
All
come
right, goodbye.
Yeah, we've come to the portion of the show called Ask Kevin. You're allowed to ask me anything because you may have noticed this entire show is about me. Let's skip Ask Kevin. I feel like let's go right to.
Wait, no, I have a question.
Okay.
I mean, I could definitely do questions with you just because when you first contacted me to say I'd like you to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I am right in that age range where I feel like since maybe your first movie part, I was at all the movies you've been in. And every time I would see you, I did have stand-up comedy pride that I was like,
Well, when you moved here in '94, that was after my life changed in '92 with A Few Good Men, and I
Yep.
was a San Francisco comic.
Right.
So there must have been some.
like, if he can do it, we can do it.
Because that's how I felt about Paul Reiser when I saw him in Diner. And he
Totally.
came through San Francisco when I was a stand-up there, and I called his hotel room as Peter Falk.
Wait,
Yeah.
did you know him?
Nope. We'd never met. And he was stuck because in the first 30 seconds of Peter Falk talking on the phone where there's no visual disconnect.
Right.
It's just the voice. He had no choice but to accept it as reality.
Wait, was he pissed?
Oh, Mr. Falk, I'm so excited. Oh my God, I can't believe you've called. How did you get, this is incredible. And then I realized I can't break the Peter Falk voice because he thinks it's Peter Falk. It's no longer funny.
Right now.
So I had to continue it for a 3-minute conversation and be Peter Falk and then wait 5 minutes and call him back and apologize and say, it's Kevin Pollak. I called you as Peter Falk and you don't know who I am. And I remember there's a long pause and then he said, you are not a nice person. Yeah, that was very cruel. Why would you?
It is insanely cruel.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But that is that feeling. There is the pride of, oh, look at that person. They've done it. As I remember seeing Don Rickles in Kelly's Heroes.
Yeah.
This war comedy from, 100 years ago. And he was playing a straight role virtually, thinking, well, he's a comedian. How does that work? How does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see people too, like I felt like my thing was seeing you in that movie or any of the other ones where it's like, this is reality. There's the wisecracking friend that actually is telling the lead person like, hey, hold on a second. Like, what are you doing here? That is the person that never gets represented. It's always like the 5 and under part,
Right.
but it's like, but actually those people should have their own movie. Those are like the comic relief concept where it's like, how about it's all those people because they're the most interesting and the best ones on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, my better half, Jamie, has a collection of cards that are like baseball cards, but they're for character actors that her and her friend put together.
Yes.
You know.
That's genius.
Yeah, well, it certainly passes the time.
Do they only have one set?
Yeah, well, so far. I mean, I don't know how many there are. There could be 30 or 40 of them at this
They
point.
should
That should be a thing?
Yes, because there's people who are so into it where, they had on, it was like the movie channel or something, they did a thing where it's like, it's that guy night.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And it was like, and now I'm not going to be able to, who's the guy that was the amazing character actor and he died with the glasses and he always played like a kind of secret asshole or a sheriff. Not M.M. Walsh. No, not M.M. Walsh, the other one.
He's still with us. The other one.
Who died.
I think I know who you mean.
This is the worst.
Yeah, not great.
But I'm saying this is why I want these cards.
Yes.
Because you're huge fans of these people.
Yes.
That you don't get to celebrate.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of a gift once you lean into it as being that guy.
Yes.
Because you get left alone and then you get the crazy perks of a big star.
Yeah, that's right.
Time for Kevin's pop quiz. between 5 and 15 points possible for each of the 3 questions. And once the final score is tabulated, it'll be posted on our website along the current standing among the top 100. Are you ready?
Can I ask who's number 1?
Yep.
Who's number 1?
I'm not going to tell you. You just asked me if you
don't
could
know
ask.
your rankings offhand? Like a baseball nerd? Okay.
It's not real.
Shit.
There's no top 100.
That's how competitive I am. Yep. I want to beat Tom Hanks at this.
Yeah, but let's make you number 1. Let's see how this goes. Okay. Question number 1. Keith David or David Keith?
David Keith.
Correct. Question number 2. I'm glad you spent that much time on it.
I really had to think about it. I had to think about their faces.
Yep. Not everyone knows the difference, so thank you for just knowing that. Question number 2. Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad?
I'm going to go Carl Weathers on that.
Also correct. Last question. Steve?
No.
That's right. 3 for 3. You're now number 1. Yes.
Yes.
Just that simple.
Yes.
Yeah. And knowing now how competitive you are, I wish we'd started with that.
Fuck you, Tom Hanks. Try to beat me at this quiz.
By the way, please name Chapter 3, Fuck You, Tom Hanks. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And no time at all went by, so you'll have no choice but to come back.
Please.
Because this was too easy and fun.
I know, we have so much more to talk about.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to look up that name I'm thinking of and lay it on you.
Yeah, for next show at least, we're going to exchange at least, we've been emailing. So send it to me in an email.
Okay.
When you realize who it is, because I am now dying to know which one.
It's a guy with a
with
initial.
Glasses.
The glasses, but it's an initial and then a name and a name.
Oh.
Pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay, that's why you thought of
Emmett Walsh.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
It was great.
And thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
And
both.
thanks.
Great job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Tremendous.
Thank you.
Good luck to you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank everyone here at Airwolf who doesn't, I don't think they know we're here. And Corey Levin in Post. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.